This is the world of the campus vets.
They can break your arm, which is what I was most afraid of. What I'd like to see now when he wakes up is that he still wants to use his leg.
Because there's so much swelling here and it looks like there's so much tissue damage, it's hard for me to see how extensive this is.
At the Western College of Veterinary Medicine, students learn to perform complex medical procedures and handle the concerns of worried animal owners. Alain Fafard has been on his feet all day, and he's going to go all night too as the student on call at the small animal emergency clinic.
It could be a long night for me. We do have one woman coming in with a cat that has been losing weight for 2 weeks now. Is having some respiratory difficulty and open mouth breathing.
16-year-old Budley is in rough shape. At the equivalent of 80 human years, any number of things could be wrong with her.
I haven't seen her breathing like this before, and it really scared me.
When Bonnie Willick's mother was transferred to a job out of the country, Bonnie took in the aging cat.
I know she's old and her time is going to come sooner or later, but we love her and my kids are very attached to her.
She's dehydrated, severely emaciated. There could be a number of things wrong with her. She's really wobbly.
Alain has a long evening ahead. Mustang, a prize breeding bull, is suffering from severe stomach pains. His owner found him rolling around, kicking at his belly.
He wasn't in very good shape. Actually, I didn't expect him to make the night.
Owner Ron Elder has much more than sentiment invested in Mustang. The 3-year-old bull is worth a hefty $50,000 in the breeding market.
Well, it's the best bull that we've ever raised in 13 years. So he's pretty important to us.
About a week ago, the owners report that they had a bad batch of feed, and he's not quite been right since then.
Mustang hasn't been eating or drinking. At this rate, his massive 2,500-pound body won't last long. Faculty veterinarian Dr. Chris Clark and student Teresa Cook are well aware of the dangers of this case.
He's one of the biggest animals we've treated in here in a long time. He weighs in excess of 1,100 kilograms, so we just try to be extremely careful. The head gate on the chute could always pop open, and if he's annoyed and tries to run out of there and somebody's in the way, they're just going to get run over.
Dr. Clark listens for movement in the rumen, one of Mustang's 4 stomachs.
We're not hearing really any activity at all, which is a concern because that stomach should be moving pretty much all the time, and right now nothing's happening. What we're really concerned about is that he's got a peritonitis.
There's a lining inside the abdomen, and it can get contaminated with bacteria, and it tends to be a fairly fatal disease in most species.
It's been less than 1 month since Aaron Marchek adopted Badger, long enough to grow attached to the 9-week-old miniature dachshund.
He's become our life. He's vivacious, he's full of life. He comes into the room just a prancing, and his little legs taking him as fast as he can.
Badger was born with a severely dislocated elbow.
So this is the normal side, and this side, he's got the little bump here.
Student Patrick Kubik will assist in the surgery to cut and realign the elbow.
So what he needs is to get that back into a more normal alignment so that his cartilage doesn't wear out and he ends up with future pain and arthritis.
If Badger's elbow isn't repaired, arthritis will soon make it difficult for him to walk.
The cartilage wears out very quickly, and once that cartilage is gone, it's gone.
Patrick scrubs up for surgery with surgical resident Dr. Lori McDougall, while Aaron waits outside.
I'm really anxious. I'm quite nervous. Both of us didn't sleep, but I was just really quite worried about what was going to happen today.
Sit up on the other side then and we'll see about doing an abdominal tackle.
Student Teresa Cook is assigned to extract a fluid sample from Mustang's abdomen.
Put a local anesthetic.
My first experience doing the abdominal-stetesis, the cow went ape. So they can break your arm, which is what I was most afraid of. Can you tell I'm nervous? He's big. Once you get his testosterone pumping and you've made him angry, they can hurt you without even meaning to hurt you badly. Oh, I just bent it.
Okay. Can we get a fresh cannula?
Dr. Chris Clark takes a stab at it.
You're kind of having to get down within the region of their back legs, and if you twitch the wrong way, it could break your arm.
They manage to get a sample with all their limbs intact. The test results give key information on what's causing one of Mustang's stomachs to shut down.
There's a protein in the blood that's really quite elevated, so that indicates that his body is trying to wall off an infection somewhere.
So we're going to give him some broad-spectrum antibiotics and hope that maybe that can treat him symptomatically for what we're dealing with.
Temperature is 37.
Bud's deteriorating health is a growing concern to Alan and intern Dr. Joey Yazer. They've taken a blood sample and rehydrated the old cat with fluids. She'll need more tests, but Bonnie wants to check with her mother first, who's out of town.
She's going to be really heartbroken that she can't be here for this.
It's 1 a.m. I'm going to see Dr. Yazer if he's got anything coming in. If not, hopefully hit the sack, get some shut-eye before morning.
Coming up.
He requires 3 times as much drug, so he's probably feeling a little bit like a pincushion this morning.
Surgery is underway to fix a deformed elbow on a 9-week-old dachshund named Badger. If it's not realigned, Badger won't be able to walk pain-free.
What we're going to do first is make an incision or a cut in the ulna, which is the bottom bone in the arm.
Once the bone is cut, surgical resident Dr. Lori McDougall works to reposition it.
So you can see a gap in the bone right there, and I can twist that apart. And with my finger up here, I'm trying to push the radius back into place. It's much better.
Dr. McDougall uses pins to hold the joint in its new position. Once everything is secure, acrylic putty holds it all in place. The next step is to compare the x-rays from before and after surgery.
In comparison to this, the radial head is off to the side here, and now it's in place there. We did hit our goal very well by getting that aligned, and now it's just a wait and see for a couple of weeks.
Badger will be monitored as he continues to grow.
Hi. Oh, I missed you.
Young Badger's ordeal is far from over. Growing bones are tricky. If the pins haven't held the new bone position in place, he'll need another surgery. Mustang the bull is being treated for an infection in his digestive system.
Is that okay up there?
Because of his massive size, Mustang will need 7 shots of antibiotics to fight any infection.
It seemed a little cruel, I know, but he weighs almost 3 times as much as a regular animal, and we dose per weight. So he requires 3 times as much drug, so he's probably feeling a little bit like a pincushion this morning.
To further combat any infection, fluid from the rumen of another cow is inserted into Mustang. It's a way of putting healthy bacteria back into Mustang's rumen. There's more than Mustang's health on the line. There's his reputation. The champion bull is scheduled to compete in one of the country's largest cattle shows in just a few days. The morning after being rushed to emergency with labored breathing, Bud is back.
So we're back today just to run blood tests and x-rays, just to rule out anything major.
Bonnie Willick reached her mother by phone last night. She's given her permission to do everything possible to help her beloved cat.
We're just running an emergency panel which tests some basic kidney function on Bud.
While they wait for the blood test results, the abdominal x-rays are reviewed.
Is it her kidneys?
This one? They look normal.
They look normal size?
Yes, they did.
The key to Bud's health problems lie in the blood test results.
Her blood urea nitrogen is 50 to 80, which is the highest that the little azole stick reads, so that's not a good sign. It's just a sign of kidney malfunction.
Bud's kidneys are failing.
The diagnosis is chronic renal failure. It's a terminal diagnosis. We can't fix it, but it's not going to get better.
Intern Dr. Yazer delivers the bad news. Bud has anywhere from a few days to a few months to live.
You might want to come down here today. The whole thing's sad, I think. Just to have to give the diagnosis, to tell someone that we found this disease in your animal and there's really nothing we can do to fix it.
High school teacher Kim Strange arrives at the college with one of his menagerie of pets.
I've got 2 snakes, a frog, a toad, a salamander, a bunch of fish, 2 cats, and a dog and a rabbit.
You can just have a seat if you want to.
Resident veterinarian Dr. Alana Shrubsole is about to find out which one of his pets needs help today.
How is he with new people?
Oh, he's good.
He's very pretty.
Hershey is a full-grown, non-venomous California king snake.
He's very docile, not aggressive at all. The kids handle him. He's a very friendly little guy.
It appears Hershey got a little too friendly with an electric hot rock in his terrarium and torched his tail.
A hot rock helps raise the temperature in your terrariums. Snakes like to sit on them to sun. It helps them digest their food. I guess occasionally, and I wasn't aware of this, they do go defective and sometimes they overheat. And if an animal's sunning a lot on there, that it can burn it.
I'm a little bit worried that there's an abscess here.
Okay.
And that's what's going to be causing the big bulge in this area. I agree with you that it's very likely that he got that from being on the hot rock.
Okay.
So there's a good chance he has a bacterial infection in here.
If the infection is spread through his body, it could be deadly. 2 weeks after surgery to reposition his elbow joint, Badger is back.
Hello.
Dr. McDougall will find out if the pins in his leg have done their job.
I'm going to take a really good feel and just do that under heavy sedation. And then we'll take x-rays of things and see where they're at and make sure they haven't moved.
Dr. McDougall has to remove the cement-like putty and the pins before getting a good look at Badger's leg.
So he can now bend his elbow, which is good. So now it's just time to go to x-rays and see what we've got. The radius is better in place here than it was here. It's still not perfect. I'd like to see it just a little bit further over, but it's much better than it was.
And it's close enough not to require more surgery.
What I'd like to see now when he wakes up is that he still wants to use his leg.
It's like watching a baby take his first steps. In Badger's case, his first steps to a new life.
Being a puppy, he's still learning about everything. He can push our limits, but you look at his face with those big brown eyes. So he means the world.
Coming up, old Bud's family must cope with a difficult situation. It's day 2 of Mustang's stomach crisis. It looks like things are finally moving along.
He's got contractions.
Good.
Which is good.
That's excellent. I mean, the most encouraging feature is the fact that he's producing more fecal material. We know that his stomachs are not moving particularly well, but it's good to know that the rest of his intestines are moving.
By the time his owners arrive to take their top breeder home, Mustang seems well along the road to recovery.
Oh, feel a lot better now. You're bound to, and you see him, he's still alive.
His owners are anxious to get him back home and get him ready for his big show at Agribition.
Mustang has lost weight from his ordeal. His owner, Ron Elder, hopes the bull can gain it back in time for the competition. But if Mustang overeats, it could cause a relapse.
So we're hoping that he rebounds so we can get him there, but we've got 3 days to decide.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Nice to meet you guys.
Hershey spent a little too much time sunning on a terrarium hot rock and severely burned his tail.
It's just like people, burn victims are so much more susceptible to infections. So he's definitely got an infection in there. And because there's so much swelling here and it looks like there's so much tissue damage, it's hard for me to see how extensive this is.
Dr. Alana Shrubsole is able to remove most of the pus and pooled blood.
There. So there's been a fair amount of damage to it. But like I said, we'll just have to wait and see how he heals.
It appears Hershey's infection hasn't spread beyond his tail, but he'll be put on antibiotics to make sure.
This area is the area I want you to keep an eye on. If it starts getting a really, really foul smell, then that might be something that we should try and change our antibiotic therapy or, go a little bit harder. But we'll start with just something by mouth. It's a bitter tasting thing, so it might be hard to do.
So I've never had to do this before and pry a snake's mouth open. It's all been very new.
We're here to pick up our cat.
Bonnie recently broke the news to her kids, Kobe and Chenoa. Bud is dying of kidney failure.
They were very upset last night. They just couldn't stop crying. It was as if she had already died. And they just the idea of her not being at home anymore was, it was hard. Like my son even said when we were discussing it, he said, "Who will I give my love to now?" he said.
Bonnie and her children will take Bud home to live out her remaining days under supportive care.
She can sit with you.
We just want to try and make her feel as happy and as comfortable as possible.
You guys are going to take her home, and you're going to baby her and pet her lots and give her good food to eat. And she'll feel better for a while, but this is something that she's going to die from eventually. Okay?
So this is the stopper that goes in the end of the bag.
Student Tracy Dewan shows Bonnie how to inject fluids into Bud to keep the cat from becoming dehydrated.
They can get so sick from the kidney failure, and sometimes all it takes to make fine as far as how they feel is just rehydration.
All the talk of disease and dying seems too much for young Chenoa.
It's harder, I think, just thinking of how sad the kids are going to be when she is finally gone. She's been wonderful. There will never be another cat like her. She's very unique.
Coming up, a big day for a very big bull. A few weeks after burning his tail, Hershey is back at Kim's high school art class.
So you want to make sure he doesn't go anywhere.
He's a pretty snake.
I like bringing life into the classroom. I found that students just react to it really well. It gives the kids something to draw.
Before Hershey can strike a pose, he's got a bitter thing or two to swallow.
Okay, ready? Come on, buddy. Okay. If we don't get it in quite right, sometimes he shoots it out his nose and shoots out the side of his mouth.
Students Cassie and Angie are helping Kim dish out the daily dose of antibiotics to treat Hershey's burn infection. It seems their efforts are working. Hershey's tail is on the mend.
He's been doing really well. The swelling's gone down a lot. He's not bleeding anymore. Seems to be healing up.
Now it's time for Hershey to get back to work. Less than a week after his stomach ache, Mustang is back in the game and looking better than ever.
The big thing is that he's better, and that means it's a success. He's a very good quality bull. You know, his offspring are going to be extremely valuable.
Mustang is back where he belongs, strutting his stuff at one of the country's largest cattle shows. He placed in the top 4 and is set for a long career as a champion.
Hershey. Did he have the name, or did you name him Hershey?
No, he came with the name. I was going to change it, and then I decided he's not going to come when I call him anyway, so who cares?
I love snakes. I love anything that's ugly. Well, you're not ugly, are you, Hershey? No, you're handsome.